contest to win a Deering open back banjo. Please put banjo in the subject. Send your complete contact information to Michael at folkboy@woodsongs.com. Show's going to start in 5 minutes. You'll get to meet the artist. Be patient. Things will work out just fine. Please make welcome our very own tree hugger, Michael Jonathan.
Thank you very much, everybody, for coming out. We're going to have a fun time, I think. Those of you that have been here for the past several weeks know that I've had a journey of shirts. And tonight I'm wearing the clothes that I normally wore when I had, yeah, I know, when I had long hair and a beard, and somebody backstage, one of the band members, decided that without the long hair and a beard, when I dressed the way I used to dress, I look like an Amway salesman trying to be cool. Which doesn't always work. When you came in the theater tonight, we were playing a record that was June Carter Cash and her husband Johnny Cash. And tonight, of course, we want to dedicate this show to the memory of a wonderful artist, June Carter Cash. And I think everybody can just give your propers. Wonderful artist, and something that we had not announced yet, but we were working on June Carter Cash being on the show in September. And just to show you the irony of life, the reason we weren't announcing her yet is because June wanted to make sure that Johnny was okay. And so we lost June first, but obviously we give our best wishes to Johnny Cash, who loved his wife very, very much. It was a genuine, real relationship, something that I think we all aspire to. And although he's faced with a horrible loss, I think it's wonderful that he found a love like that. And so he did have a great gift after all. Tonight, we were going to have Terry Hendricks and Lloyd Maines. Lloyd Maines, of course, is the father of Natalie Maines of the Dixie Chicks. But Terry came down with such a serious flu that she was hospitalized over the weekend. So they're not here. We are going to have them rescheduled. But we're very proud to, actually it's a good opportunity to devote an entire hour to a group with a history and a legacy as great as this. For the past 30, 35 years, they've become one of the most popular folk rock acts in Europe, and it's a very big honor for Woodsongs to have them. Please welcome the Strawbs to the Woodsongs stage. We're going to start our show in about 2.5 minutes. It's a 1-hour broadcast. After the show's over, stay in your seats. You're going to help me do a radio commercial, a TV commercial, and then the Strawbs are going to play an encore set just for you folks in the theater and watching on the webcast. During the show, you're going to see a lot of movement. Remember that it's not a concert, it's a radio broadcast. And so there's going to be a lot of technical stuff going on. Please don't think anybody's being rude to the artist, especially if some of that movement happens while somebody's performing or playing. It's just the act of putting on something as large scale as the Woodsongs Old Time Radio are. It takes a lot of technical stuff, and sometimes there's a little more movement than we'd like, but it's the nature of what kind of show this is. And we are 1.5 minutes away. "45 seconds, Kevin." Everybody have your energy up. We're going to launch this thing like a rocket ship, right? 30 seconds, Kevin.
Here on the Louisiana Hayride. His name is Hank Williams, the drifting cowboy.
Present Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the air.
On the Grand Ole Opry, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys.
Hi, this is Sean Colvin, and you're listening to the Woodsongs.
Hi, I'm Leo Kotke. And
Hi, I'm Norman Blake.
Hello, this is Odetta.
Hi, this is Tom Paxton. And
Hi, folks. This is Sam Bush.
This is Joan Baez, and you're listening to the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And now, it's time again for the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. Gather the family around and sit back on your front porch. It's a full hour of music, talk, and Americana news. It's folk music from an artist's point of view. And here's your host, folk singer, songwriter, and author, Michael Jonathan.
Drift through time. We spin our lives through evil webs of transparencies, and we grope for what we can find. We hide from those mistakes we made that never go away. Now I'm young, so full of life, and I drift through time, waste my years, who knows what I'll find. We die from those mistakes we've made that never go away. You make your money and you build your homes, and you fight for all your rights. You plan your future and then you bank your time. You think you're flying high, but you know you're living blind in a world you made that never goes away. I see the sky, I feel the sun, and throughout the world you can sense the fears felt by everyone. Is this the time? No, no, those bombs you made will never go away. You make your money and you build your homes, and you fight for all your rights. You plan your future and then you bank your time. You think you're flying high, but you know you're living blind in a world you made that never goes away. Those mistakes you've made will never go away. And all those bombs you made will never go away. Thank you. Welcome to our broadcast of the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. Here we celebrate grassroots music of all kind, literally from all over the world. Our guests on the show are a piece of European rock and roll folk music history, and it's a real big honor to have them here. I'm going to introduce you to them right after this.
This broadcast of the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour is presented by the Rhythm and Roots Reunion Festival, held in historic Bristol, Tennessee on September the 19th through the 21st, 2003. You can enjoy a full weekend of live bluegrass, Americana, folk, and blues with a Del McCurry Band, Larry Cordell, Blue Highway, and hundreds of other performers. Information about artists, directions, tickets, and the history of the Rhythm and Roots Reunion Festival is online at bristolrhythm.com.
Welcome back to the historic Kentucky Theater, where we're broadcasting our show in our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. Big, beautiful theater full of people, and they're here to see the sort of diamonds of the grassroots music world. And, oh gosh, several decades ago, a young fella named Dave Cousins put together a little group, and they started performing in the pubs and coffee houses around London, England. And that journey took them on the road to the Royal Albert Hall eventually, to hit records, to big albums. They've toured with everyone from Peter Frampton to Santana and several others. It's a big honor to have them here. They're going to do a tune from a CD called From the Witch Hood to introduce you to their wonderful music. The song is called A Glimpse of Heaven. That's what their music is. Please welcome the Strawbs to the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
Hillside was a patchwork quilt. Beneath the stick, the tidy hedge and crumbling greystone wall. The trees were bare, but spring was near. To conjure up its endless strings of green magic handkerchiefs. Could you only see what I've seen, you would surely know what I mean. I think I must have caught a glimpse of heaven. A string of diamonds formed a stream that tumbled down the daunting cliff to sparkle bright on the beach. Could you only see what I've seen, you would surely know what I mean. I think I must have caught a glimpse of heaven. newborn lambs that sweetly play, speckled eggs all newly laid. But for you, I would have stayed. I think I must have caught a glimpse of heaven.
The song's called A Glimpse of Heaven. The CD is from the Witchwood. The Strawbs on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. Let's say hello to founding member Dave Cousins.
Hi, how are you?
Nice. I'm very glad that you could be here.
I'm delighted to be here.
From the London area of England.
I live in London. That song actually was written about the area I lived in the West Country in England for about 20 years, but I'm back in London now.
Well, take us back to 1967, the beginning of the Strawbs.
Well, the Strawbs, as you said, started out in the coffee houses and folk clubs in the London area. The only reason we played in folk clubs was we played acoustic instruments. We couldn't play anywhere else. So perhaps our sights were set on later developments which later came along. But one day I walked into a coffee house in Earl's Court in London, and I walked downstairs in the Troubadour, and there sitting on a stool was a young lady wearing a white hat and a long white dress and playing a Gibson guitar. And she sang like an angel, and afterwards I went up to her and said, "Would you like to join a group?" It was really quite jokingly, and she said, "Who are you?" And I said, "We're the Strawbs." She said, "Yes, all right." And it was Sandy Denny, and that was that's exactly how it happened. It was just so innocent as that. And we rehearsed for a few weeks in her flat and round at my house. And then we got an offer to make a record. We all went off to Denmark and made that album. But when we got back to England, she met up with somebody from Fairport Convention and decided she didn't want us after all. So she went off to Fairport Convention, and that record didn't come out for several years later. But in the meantime, we picked up the traces and got on with our job. And we became the Strawbs. We made our first record with A&M Records. We were the first British band ever signed to A&M in Los Angeles. And it's still going on.
Excellent. Now, tell me about the name. Where's the name, the Strawbs, come from?
We started out, I went to school in Twickenham, really close by where I live again now. And there's an area right next door to Twickenham called Strawberry Hill. And we went round to a flat that was owned by a girl called Susie Shan, who was the daughter of a well-known American artist called Ben Shan. And we rehearsed around at her flat. And we got our first gig, and somebody said, "Well, what are you called?" And we didn't have a name. We were a trio then, with me playing banjo and Tony Hooper on guitar and a mandolin player called Arthur Phillips. And because we were into groups like the Stony Mountain Boys or the Foggy Mountain Boys or the Rocky Mountain Boys, I suddenly said, we'll become the Strawberry Hill Boys. And that's how it became.
You just shorten it down to Strawbs.
Well, people used to say, "Well, Strawbs are here. They've arrived. Strawbs are here." And so it became, not that we chose to do it, but that's how it became.
Well, through the years, you've swapped and traded various members, and in 1972, this handsome gentleman here sitting to your left joined. Let's welcome Dave Lambert to the stage. So, Dave, how did you eventually become part of the Strawbs?
I was a heavy rock guitarist and singer. I had a band called Fire, a three-piece band. And I was starting to get interested in the more intricate forms of music, I suppose. And I went and saw Dave, and one song caught my interest, and I introduced myself afterwards, and we discovered that we lived within 200 yards of each other.
Oh my. What song was it?
It was about a disaster in Wales, in Aberfan, where a coal tip came down on a school and destroyed a school with the children in it. Right. I don't know if you remember that in the 60s. And it just moved me, and they hadn't recorded it, so I asked Dave if, and he made me a tape of the song. Then he became interested. He was interested in electric stuff as well, as much as I was interested in seeing how acoustic music could come into my playing.
Was it a hard change for you to go from the electric into the acoustic world?
No, because I realized what I had lacked because of the nature of the performance of heavy metal or punky kind of stuff that I was doing was the subtleties, the nuances. It wasn't possible to be subtle. And I, of course, seeing Dave in just at the trio setup, it was totally subtle. And in fact, we ended up on the same bill within about 6 months, didn't we? Believe it or not, Fotheringay, Strawbs, and Fire, which was my band, a heavy metal band, playing in the same building.
Well, let's go back to that time period when you joined the band. Their CD that came out around that time is Bursting at the Seams. Yeah. And you're going to do a song from the time when you joined the Strawbs back in the 1970s.
In fact, this is the first song I played with the Strawbs.
Really?
Yeah,
well,
in Dave's front room.
Perfect. Okay, well, we're going to do that song now. The tune is called Tears in Pavan. Pavan, okay. It's the Strawbs on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
Where are the tears that you should be crying right now? I see the world weariness in your eyes. I hear your voice soft and sad, yet your laughter rings like a millions of bells in my ears. Where are the tears that you should be crying right now? I see the world weariness in your eyes. I feel your heart beat like the wings of the wild goose. I smell your love on me. I can still take the tears that you should be crying right now. darling, go to sleep, for the night is young. There are many songs yet to be sung. Oh, but I will sing them all to you before the night is through. And when she lies in need of care and comforting, so as a child's toy she is caressed. And yet when cast adrift upon the changing tide, as a ship becomes she lies at rest. Oh, darling, go to sleep, for the night is young. There are many songs yet to be sung. Oh, but I will sing them all to you before the night is through. Oh, darling, go to sleep, for the night is young. There are many songs yet to be sung. Oh, but I will sing them all to you before the night is through.
Great. Tears in Pavan from the CD called Bursting at the Seams. If you're interested in the music of the Strawbs, and I can't imagine why you would not be, we invite you to log on to woodsongs.com, click on the general store. This is show number 258, and we will give you all the contact information you need to know about the Strawbs, their website, getting their CDs. And we have a third member of the group that we want to talk to, and we noticed that right away his boots match the color of his guitar, which is a very fine fashion statement. Let's welcome Brian Willoughby to the stage, third member of the trio. You joined in 1958. 1978.
I used to be in a rock and roll band.
Yeah, right. Look what folk music has done to you. 1978. How is it that you came to be with the Strawbs?
Well, Dave Lambert left, and I was a friend of both Daves, and Dave Cousins invited me to join the band, and I've been there ever since.
Now, what was your musical background? Dave Lambert, of course, is from electric rock and roll background. Is that similar?
Mine was more folk-based. My first professional job was with Mary Hopkin. Those were the days, Beatles, progeny.
Yes.
And I did lots of sessions for folk singers over the years. And then when Dave Lambert left, Dave invited me to join.
It was a nice opportunity when you left the band, right? Now, you're playing an unusual guitar. Well, it's a Gibson guitar, a normal guitar, but it's strung in an unusual way. Why don't you tell us about what you've done to your guitar?
It's actually strung normally, apart from the G string, which is a plain 20.
So go ahead and play a chord so we can hear the difference in the tones.
But the thing is, I use the G to bend more than anything.
Right. It gives it an almost high-strung sound.
It does,
in a way. So that certainly adds to the color and the texture of the songs. I've noticed that a lot of groups, Fairport Convention, the Strawbs, the Moody Blues, there is almost a non-structure to the writing. You're not limiting yourself to that 3.5 minute pop song thing. You're allowing the chords to change, the structures to change, the sounds to change from song to song.
We try and orchestrate the songs as much as possible. I mean, hopefully you'll never find the three of us playing the same inversion of a chord. If you do, second. But we try and work out things so they have an orchestral feel to them.
Well, the new album, the album that's out currently, Baroque and Roll, what a beautiful piece of work, because you use a lot of string sections and stuff with the acoustic instruments. And this song in particular that you're about to play is my favorite song on the album. This is one that you co-wrote.
Thank you very much, yes. It's called Alice's Song. And it's about my little niece who has Asperger's syndrome, which is a mild form of autism. And it's looking at the world through her eyes, hopefully.
Well, let's go ahead and listen to this song. Dave Cousins, of course, is singing lead, and he's picked up a 5-string Gibson banjo. And on the record, there's that one. Is it a string quartet, Dave, or is it Big Bear? It's a string quartet.
String quartet.
That's with this. You really need to hear the song on the album to get the full emotional impact. But you guys, I heard it during sound check. It's a beautiful rendition. It's from the CD called Baroque and Roll, their brand new record. It's Alice's song, The Strawbs, on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
I wonder what I've done. What makes her strong? What makes her safe? What makes her suddenly afraid? I'll understand this little girl, but I'll never live in Alice's world. If I could see through Alice's eyes, I wonder what I'd see. Is her sky blue? Is her grass green? Does she see things I've never seen? What's in her mind she keeps inside, I'll never see through Alice's eyes. If I could love through Alice's heart, I wonder who I'd trust. So silently she smiles at me, but answer she will not reveal. She never tells why it's so hard to win a place in Alice's heart.
I absolutely love that. Song is Alice's song from the CD Baroque and Roll. If you want to know more about the Strawbs, we invite you to go online at woodsongs.com. Click on the general store. We'll let you know how you can make that song, that album, this wonderful band from England, part of your home music collection. You can also watch them again. You can see them online because we have archived the video webcast of this broadcast and so many others. Woodsongs.com is the address to be able to view so many of the shows again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at your leisure on your home computer. We got another half an hour of the Strawbs and Woodsongs to go. Let's take it out with Captain Don.
You're listening to show 258 of the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour, presented in part by hundreds of Woodsongs partners like Edward Gardner, Doris Meader, and Bob Butcher. Thanks, folks. We'll be back in 60 seconds with more music, talk, and radio's only Americana newscast on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. What do Sam Bush, Ronnie McCurry, Rob Ikes, J.D. Crowe, John Cowan, J.P. Pennington, the Folkboy Orchestra, and IBMA Fiddle Player of the Year, Mike Cleveland, all have in common? Each makes special musical appearances on Michael Jonathan's new CD, Homestead. The album highlight is the Crimson Road Trilogy. Michael's mandolin duet with Ronnie McCurry described by one reviewer as Bill Monroe meets Stairway to Heaven. Information about the Homestead CD is available at the Woodsongs General Store, online at woodsongs.com. Do you have a favorite artist you'd like to tell us about? Do you have a question or comment about our show? We'd love to hear from our listening audience. We might even read your letter on the air. Michael's email address is folkboy@woodsongs.com, or write to us the snail mail way. Ready for the address? It's the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour, P.O. Box 200, Lexington, Kentucky 40588.
Hi, this is Bruce Hornsby, and you're listening to Michael Jonathan and the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
Thank you, Bruce. Welcome back, everybody. We're on stage with the Strawbs, great folk trio from England. We're in the Grand Kentucky Theater in our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. One of the groups that is from the Appalachian Mountains, where we're from. They tour all over the world. They're going to be on the next broadcast of our show, and it's like a piece of rock and roll history. They're sort of a Appalachian version of the Grateful Dead. They're very popular in the subculture, and we're going to play you the same song twice to show you their musical diversity. This is Goose Creek Symphony in a song called Going Home.
Little old log cabin in the mountains high, a big full moon a shining in a starry sky. I'm going home, I'm going home, I'm going home, I'm going home. Deer in the meadow and an eagle in the sky, happy in my heart with a tear in my eye, 'cause I'm going home.
So that's Charlie Gayhart singing his Goose Creek Symphony. The song is called Going Home. And then to show you how diverse this wonderful group is, listen to them doing this same song a different way on the same record. Can't get much more imagination than that. Goose Creek Symphony. Next broadcast of the Woodsongs Old Time Radio. I think fans of Levon Helm and the band and people like that really, really get into Goose Creek. They've been around for a long time. It's going to be really fun having them on the entire broadcast. Weeks ahead, we've got Dar Williams coming. Fairport Convention is coming on the show. So many great artists, but we've got the Strawbs here on our stage, and we're going to get to them right after Captain Don and the Woodsongs Americana Newscast.
Today's Woodsongs Americana newscast is presented in part by Disc Makers, providing complete CD manufacturing packages that include full-color artwork, worldwide distribution, UPC barcodes, and more. More information is available online at discmakers.com. If you play the guitar and you're looking for musical inspiration, listen up. One of the finest acoustic guitar players in the world, Brian Sutton, has a new CD out called Bluegrass Guitar. Woodsongs fans will recall Brian as Chris Thiele's musical partner a few months ago on our show. Speaking of Chris, his guitar-playing Nickel Creek compadre Sean Watkins has another solo album. Sean's CD is called 6 Miles, departing from the bluegrass-oriented sound of his debut into more jazz and classical influences with drum loops and horns. Recording is complete on Bruce Cogburn's 27th album titled You've Never Seen Everything. The disc is Cogburn's first-length studio album since his 1999 Juno Award-winning Breakfast in New Orleans, Dinner in Timbuktu. And you can't mention the guitar on Woodsongs without at least saying something about the great Doc Watson. Doc's still touring and playing, and folks at the Sugar Hill Records just did the world a favor by releasing a compilation of Doc's blues music called Trouble in Mind, the Doc Watson Country Blues Collection, 1964 to 1998. You can find it at sugarhillrecords.com. That's the Woodsongs newscast from the New Woodsongs News Center. I'm Captain Don.
Thank you, Captain. Ben Soley on the cello, Hot Licks, Harsha Sen on the mandolin, Folk Boy Orchestra. Well, we're here with the Strawbs. Let's welcome Dave Cousins back to our stage. Let's talk. You're going to play a great song in a couple minutes called Ghosts. And let's talk again about the music. I don't want to call it non-structure. I think it's more of an adventure in the structure of the song that a lot of the more experienced, especially European folk groups, pioneered, where the artists of today are really staying to the real plain 3.5, 4 minutes, verse, chorus kind of thing. You're expanding. Your music is you're pushing and pulling. It's like 2 or 3 songs in the same song.
We've always done that. Right from early days, where we began to think not in terms of actually individual songs, but of linking songs together. And a lot of our music actually came out of the fact that I played the banjo very early on. I had started to put the banjo into various tunings and then started to put the guitar into tunings. And the very sound of the guitar in a different tuning gives a different resonance. And when you put it together with conventional tunings, you get the whole thing begin to sound much bigger. But in terms of putting songs together, it came really out of having a fellow called Rick Wakeman in the band for a while. And Rick was a classically trained pianist and, keyboard player. And he's gone, I think he'll go far. But
you think?
Yeah, he's got promise. But anyway, he played with us for a couple of years, and we got into the whole idea of linking tunes together with instrumental pieces in between.
Well, Paul McCartney did that a lot. I mean, the Sgt. Pepper album is really one long song made up of a dozen or more individual tunes.
Yeah, that's entirely true. And I suppose to an extent we would have listened to that in the early days.
Abbey Road as well.
Abbey Road, sure.
Yeah.
But the Moody Blues, Fairport Convention, several of those groups, the Strawbs, do that in such a wonderful way. Do you find the music more fun when you take the adventure?
Well, it makes it very interesting to play, because we start with one theme, we introduce additional themes, stick a third theme on it, then do one. It's almost like a mini symphony, if you like. I suppose that's being a bit pretentious, but it sounds. You start with a little piece, and then you become into a middle section, then you come back to the third piece is the payoff piece altogether. And we developed that. In particular, this song we're going to do for you was one that was written in the city of Indianapolis. And we were there for a couple of days and had a night off, which was very rare for us in those days. And one of my kids was ill at home, and I wanted to phone home, so the lads went out on the town without me. And we were staying in a hotel right next door to the War Memorial. And we were right on the top floor of the hotel, and you could almost look the angel on the top of the War Memorial in the eyes. And at night it seemed to be bathed in a blue light, and it became very mysterious and murky. And as that song came out, or the one we're about to do.
Great setup. Let's go ahead and listen to it. The CD and the song are the same. It's the title cut. The song is called Ghosts. It's the Strawbs on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
wake, my babies, don't you wake up. The stars will keep you company, so close your eyes. Old Uncle Moon will smile his dearest, sweetest dreams. Hold you in his arms until the morning comes. Frosty ground. Beside your bed the angel stands. You cannot touch his withered hands. Don't be sweat, your mouth is dry. Twisted branches catch the eye. Above your head the lion screams to tear you from your moonlit dreams. I can see that he is smiling, but I cannot live inside his head. Tell me, children, are you sleeping? Are you innocent like me? Hey, you never cross the line. I hope your dreams are not like mine. There the needle stands before me. I climb inside it towards the light, where the angel stands in glory. His sword of peace defends the night. Tell me, children, are you sleeping? Are you innocent like me? Hey, you never cross the line. I hope your dreams are not like mine. So the world is spread before me as I fly high on angel wings. But the angel is deceiving, for he is weeping as he sings. tell me, children, are you sleeping? Are you innocent like me? Hey, you never cross the line. I hope your dreams are not like mine. Morning bird, morning breeze, spinning leaves, sleepy trees, gently tap the window pane. It's good to see the sun again.
Well, there's a lesson. That's how to write it, and that's how to play it. What a wonderful song. What a wonderful way to allow the music to take the writer on a journey instead of the writer forcing the music to stay a certain way.
What we find is that playing it in this way, in particular with just 3 acoustic guitars, we've stripped the song back to its bare essentials. And when you go in a studio with drums and bass and keyboards and everything else, perhaps the songs sometimes get swallowed up. But doing it like this, it really reveals them for what they are and allows you to really present the song, in, as I say, in a way that it was first ever written.
Well, those who tuned in while you were playing your song, the tune was called Ghosts. It's really a composite of several themes, musical themes that you put together in the one piece, and a lot of your music is presented that way. It's great, but just as 3 acoustic guitars, though, I think it really retained the power of a rock and roll record. And Dave Lambert is the one who sang that big lead on that. Didn't he do good on that? Your rock and roll electric background was shining right through that acoustic guitar. But now,
seriously, I've always maintained that a good song is different from a good record. A good song will always be played on a guitar and one voice, always.
Explain that more to the audience, what you mean.
You can make a good record out of a bad song. Because you can, seriously. Well, you know that, don't you? Yeah. But you can't make a good song with a guitar and a voice. You can't sham it. You can't. Well, Dave's trying, but you can't.
Oh, yeah. Well, now the makeup of the band is really that Dave Cousins sings most of the leads, correct? Is that fair to say?
2/3 of it, possibly.
Yeah, because we don't hear much out of Brian, vocal-wise.
He'd rather I didn't sing.
Do you sing at all on this last song that we're going to play? So do you do anything solo at all?
I packed the truck.
You pack the truck. So we're not going to hear you vocally at all in this hour, are we? But just your wonderful guitar playing. Well, the last song that you're going to sing does show off the group more vocally, the 2 Daves anyway. along with your three guitars. It's from an album called Grave New World. Where do you get the names of the Baroque and Roll, Grave New World? I mean, it's...
They're both puns, if you like, because Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World, so Grave New World became that title. And in England, we don't pronounce it Baroque and Roll, we pronounce it Baroque and Roll.
We ain't in England, dude. Well, Grave New World is the name of the CD that this song is found on, and the tune is called The Flower and the Young Man, or is it Youngman?
The Flower and the Young Man was inspired by a trip to Sweden, and I had to go overnight on a train from Gothenburg to Stockholm, and it was just before Christmas. And the snows had fallen, and the leaves had fallen from the silver birch trees, the lakes were frozen, and as we came into Stockholm, there were bells ringing in the air, not church bells, but little tinkling bells, and I couldn't work out what it was. And as I walked up the station platform, it got louder and louder, and then walked out through the front entrance of the station and suddenly saw what it was. And because there was so much ice on the roads, they weren't running taxis, so they brought out the horses and carriages, and the horses had little bells woven into their manes, and they had lights around the carriages, and there were people skating on the lakes. And Stockholm is the most beautiful city, because the major buildings and the churches have all got copper roofs that, of course, are now bright green. And it was a spectacular sight, and it inspired the song.
Well, here's the song. It's called The Flower and the Young Man, the Strawbs, on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
While seasons change in timely way, the salt sea ever flows, where open moors lie cold and bleak, a single flower grows. Though winter snows fall deep and long, the flower grows the while, the weary traveler passing by feels warmer for her smile. Sunshine and the tender flower both melt the young man's heart, while he who lingers wastes his time, must learn to play his part. Through summer days of warmth and love, the young man tends his flower, but blinded by the color bright, he's not the passing hour. The autumn leaves once clothed with gold, now frayed and sadly torn. The flower bids the chill farewell. The young man's heart is torn. While seasons change in timely way, the salt sea ever flows, where open moors lie cold and bleak. A single flower grows.
It's great. We want to thank Dave Cousins, Dave Lambert, and Brian Willoughby, the Strawbs from England. If you're interested in the music of the Strawbs, I encourage you to go online at woodsongs.com, click on the general store, make their great collection of albums and CDs through the years part of your home music library. I hope you enjoyed our show. It's been a wonderful visit with a very wonderful folk rock band from England. Next week, the Goose Creek Symphony will be here. My name is Michael Jonathan. I'm a folk singer and I'm a tree hugger. We'll see you next week on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. Good night.
You've been listening to broadcast 258 of the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour, written and produced by folk singer Michael Jonathan. Folk Boy Orchestra is Harsha Sin, Ben Soley, and me. Our chief engineer is Kevin Darth Vader Johnson from Beacon Street Studios. It's on the web at beaconstreetonline.com. Technical assistants are Brian Flash Clausen, Kevin Stevenson, Mike Boso, and Jerome Galt. Thanks to all our affiliates, including the Voice of America. Our affiliate liaison is Tammy Farley. A big thanks to the all-volunteer Woodsongs crew: Glenn Wilson, Roy Stout, Lil Schulman, Connie Harrison, Larry Stewart, Rick Bertelson, Eric Anderson, Erica Skaggs, Bob DiMartina, Edie Maddox, Pamela P.J. Tyler, Corday Lee, Marie Wilson, and Scott Getzing. The Woodsongs webcast is presented by Insight Communication, directed and produced by Amy Nickel. The webcast crew includes Lisa Sword, Jim Piston, Sean Dono, Camilla Olson, and Dwayne Vereni. Our website is hosted by QX.net. Design and management of our website is provided by Scott Clark at SiteCreations.com. SiteCreations.com or toll free 888 on the web. Meals for the crew provided by Katasha's Cafe. Guest artists stay at the Holiday Inn North at the crossroads of American folk and bluegrass music right here in Lexington, Kentucky. This program is produced with the support of WUKY, University of Kentucky Public Radio. Woodsongs and the Woodsongs symbol are registered trademarks of Rachel Aubrey Music. For Michael Jonathan and the entire Woodsongs crew, this is Captain Don. Join us again next week on the same great radio station for the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
Caught you on the ending, didn't we? Very good. Wasn't it nice having them here? Now stay in your seats. They're going to do a couple of encore songs for you, the audience. They've got their CDs and stuff in the outer lobby. They'll be more than happy to meet folks. I need your help to do two things really quick. One is the radio spot that the 404 stations will use to advertise and promote this particular broadcast in their hometowns. And at the end of the spot, I'm going to say on this week's broadcast of, and then you say it with me, Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour, okay? So let's get real quiet in the audience, and let's go ahead and do this. In 5, 4, 3. This is folk singer Michael Jonathan. I hope you'll join us this week as we visit with a legendary band from England, the Strawbs. It's an acoustic paradise and live audience celebration of grassroots music on this week's broadcast of the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. Very good. The next thing we're going to do is the TV commercial, and this is used on TV systems in about 8 cities, mainly, of course, Insight Communications. And folks, I think in our hometown get to watch it 5 times a week on the cable system here, and in Covington, and in Bowling Green, and Virginia, and all kinds of places. So let's go ahead and do this one. Same thing, only this time you watch the Magic Pinky. And you do the same thing. You say Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour and then applaud. These cameras are on you guys, so you're part of the TV commercial. So don't frown. Are we ready?
Tuning.
Okay. In 5, 4, 3. Michael Jonathan here. Did you know that there's a worldwide radio broadcast happening every single week downtown in our hometown of Lexington, right here at the Kentucky Theater? You can find out more online at woodsongs.com or tune in exclusively on Insight Communications. This week from England, a great group, the Strawbs, on this week's broadcast of the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. Ladies and gentlemen, the Strawbs.
That is the two song. I made a sideways motion, turning a new leaf. A single-minded miner's girl was there to share my grief. I shivered in the bitter wind, 3 times a cockerel crowed. I waited for the river, but the river did not flow. As autumn turned to silver and winter turned to gold, the weatherman said dress up, but I did not feel the cold. Kids waited with toboggans as I sheltered from the snow. I waited for the river, but the river did not flow. I will drink the milk from your breast and melt myself to you. Collect the fiery lilies, the worshippers once true. My body aches with hunger, yet your belly has to grow. I waited for the river, but the river did not flow. to think a lot like me. Those who live beside the sea who feel so free, so I surmise in their fashionable homes with wives who end up drinking tea together in the afternoon of their lives. They build their homes upon the seashore, the quicksand castles of their dreams. Yet take no notice of the north wind, which tears their buildings at the seams. In their dismay and black confusion, the weeping widows strut their shores, while as the seagulls never deepens, the sailors hear their sirens calls. And in the monstrous sea which follows, their lifeboat sinks without a trace. And yet there still remain survivors who bear the shame of their disgrace. Last night I lay in bed and held myself, trying to remember how it once was with you, how your hands were soft. Yesterday I found myself staring into space, rather like a sailor in my own home surrounding. I'm not sure I know me. If you were me, what would you do? Don't tell me, I don't need you to. It won't help me now. If you were me, what would you do? Don't tell, I don't need you to. It won't help me now. thank you very much indeed.
We don't know anymore.
No, we want to do a song that it was written about 30 years ago about the troubles in Northern Ireland, about the sectarian violence with Protestants versus Catholics erupting in the streets, with shops being blown up, hotels being blown up, people being shot, somebody being shot in retaliation, kneecapping, beatings. And I saw a TV program where kids were being asked to draw in their art class, just draw a picture of anything you want. And the majority of the kids in that class were drawing pictures of soldiers lying in the street with blood pouring out of them. And I thought, what a sad society we live in. It is indeed a sort of grave new world that we live in. But I expect everybody here will remember for the rest of their lives where they were on September the 11th. And I can tell you exactly where I was. I was in my local pub waiting for my son to come over to see me. And he came running in the pub out of the taxi. And he'd been listening to the radio on the way over, and we didn't have a TV on in the pub. And he said, "Do you know what's going on?" And we turned the television on just in time to see the second plane hit the Twin Towers and the shock that went around that pub. And we sat there, absolutely ashen-faced for the whole afternoon, just watching these terrible events unfurl. And the sympathy that went out from us to you all over here in the United States, I cannot tell you, but believe you me, it was there. There's blood in the dust where the city's heart beats. The children play games that they take from the streets. How can you teach when you've so much to learn? May you turn, 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 may you turn in your grave. You There is haze in your eyes, I have seen it before. Planning destruction behind the locked door. Were you the coward who fired the last shot? May you rot, 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 may you rot in your grave. You There is death in the air with the lights growing dim. As those who survive sing a desperate hymn. Pray that God grants you one final request. May you rest. May you rest. Thank you very much.
I got a spare room behind the barn for my Mack attack when I'm on the farm. You click it on, then you click around. See the cyber fun I found. Well, I'm a hayseed of the first degree. I'm a country boy from Tennessee. But on the screen I'm so debonair. I'm a cyber hunk with a full head of hair, and I'm looking online. You're in luck, I got a gigabyte drive and an old Ford truck. Lonely lady stuck in your house. I can change your world with a click of my mouse. We can ride around the planet as long as you can type. Lock the women up and bring your daughters inside, 'cause Cyber Bubba's alive. I'm an internet lover and I search the world in my cowboy boots for my cyber girl. You just choose the room and then you fan the flame. I'm an online lover and I got no name, just lurking online. Gigabyte drive and an old Ford truck. Lonely lady stuck in your house. I can change your world with a click of my mouse. We can ride around the planet as long as you can type. Lock the women up and bring your daughters inside.